Let's roll, baby. Welcome in. It is a Labor Day Monday edition of East Coast Bias right here on the Ringer Gambling Show. The triple threat is ready to rock. I'm sick and tired of looking at these futures boards. I'm ready for week one. I'm ready for action. We're going to get some action with the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday. A full slate of games, including the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers on Friday. Sunday games galore, pick score, winners galore. But this is like the final check, fellas, before, I don't want to say the final exam, but I want to say the first exam of the semester as I welcome in Joe House from D.C., Raheem Palmer in D.C., or in Vegas. Close enough. D.C., Vegas, it's all semantics. House, we have not had a conversation on the air since the Micah Parsons trade. And buddy boy, I am glad that I have 22-1 on the Green Bay Packers. Just saying, I'm glad I got that number.
I'm right there alongside you, JJ. You know, when we were doing our division previews, I started to get a little bit of lack of confidence in my Green Bay futures because I have them to win the Super Bowl. I have a number for them winning the NFC conference at 11-1. I have them winning the North. I got that around plus 240. And this Micah Parsons thing has radically changed everything. I mean, if you look at just last week, the numbers for the Green Bay Packers futures in the FanDuel Sportsbook, Green Bay division winner was at plus 230. Now they are the favorite to win the NFC North at plus 170. Detroit behind them at plus 185. 9.5 wins was the forecast for the Packers at minus 110, even money kind of thing. Now it's up to 10.5. And you can get a little bit of juice if you like them. I mean, a little bit of flavor if you like them to go over that 10.5, and I do, plus 105. And then to win the NFC conference, plus 950 last week, now plus 650. So Dream, I mean, everybody that had that confidence in Green Bay quietly under the radar, maybe being the cream of the crop in the NFC North, it's time to take some tickets home, baby.
Yeah, you definitely got fortunate if you bet on Green Bay futures. And I would like to add, Jordan Love's MVP odds went from 20-1 to 16-1. So you're seeing this Green Bay Packers team, they move up in odds. But the one thing I will say is, once again, this is a market. So I don't think this is the time to buy in on Green Bay Packers futures if you didn't already bet it. I think if you bet it already, you're very fortunate. But right now, I think this is not the time to buy. You never want to buy after a major trade or a major free agent transaction because you're buying at the peak. So it'll be interesting to see what happens week one. But right now, the Packers' future is going up.
Totally justified, Raheem. That said, for someone that bet the Packers to win the division like I did, for someone that has the Super Bowl odds, and now you look at this division, FanDuel has adjusted things. They are the favorites to go and win the NFC North. In your estimation, is that an overreaction? Is that justified? Or you seeing all of a sudden maybe value with a team like Detroit? Maybe there's more value with your Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Green Bay being favorites in the North, fair or unfair?
I think it's very fair. I think the biggest thing when you look at this Green Bay Packers team, and first things first, you guys know I did play under 10.5 wins for the Detroit Lions. You guys know I did take the Chicago Bears over on the win total. I like the Green Bay Packers coming into the season, and I felt like they had Super Bowl upside, but I like the value on the Chicago Bears for the division. But I think they've improved drastically here. You look at the Packers last year, one of their weaknesses was they never had a top tier defensive end who could create sacks. They were 26 in ESPN's pass rush win rate and 16th in pressure rate, 22% last season. That's going to change with the addition of Micah Parsons. So I think this changes the entire calculus of this Green Bay Packers team and pushes them to a team who should win the division.
Yeah, I agree with that. And JJ, some of the other markets you might want to look at, last team to remain undefeated is out there. Those odds have also moved. But if you look at the way that the schedule's set up for the Green Bay Packers, their toughest matchup in their first 9 games is at home against the Detroit Lions. The lines in many of the look ahead lines in many of their games have moved. Like week 2 at home against Washington, the look ahead was -1.5. I see it all the way up over 3 now. So if you like the Packers, the way to sort of sketch this out is look at that schedule. They have the Lions and then a string of teams that they are either evenly matched with or superior all the way up until week 10 against the Eagles. And the schedule, in terms of road game and home game split is perfectly fair. It's perfectly favorable at the Browns and then at Dallas. Well, that calculus has changed. And I think the at Dallas in week 4, especially, all eyes on that situation. That's going to be phenomenal. Home against the Bengals, at the Cardinals, at the Steelers, and then home against the Panthers. That gets you through week 9. It sets up really nice for riding on Green Bay.
Dream, I was planning on betting the Packers in week 1. So we have our little Ringer 107, which I'm very fired up about. I'm not thrilled that teasers are involved, but hey, I don't call the shots. I don't make all the rules.
They
It
said
is what
no
it is.
teasers.
I play by the
It's
rules.
money line parlays now.
You can play money line parlays.
Right, whatever it is, be that as it may. I was going to push hard for Green Bay. I still might push hard for Green Bay. Are we going to see this line by Thursday or Friday? Lock in at Packers -3 when it's all said and done?
No.
You don't think so?
Not at all.
So you think 2.5 will be the peak of the market?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you have to remember that this is the Detroit Lions, and they were 15-2 last year. So I think there is a market, and obviously you can't push this too far. So I think we're right on market, and it wouldn't surprise me actually if you saw this number come down a little bit.
Interesting. Okay, now let's get to the Cowboys side of things. House, we go back to
this is a conversation I'm ready for.
March, April. Now, don't worry, Raheem. We're going to get to you because I want to get the Commander fan perspective, and then I'm going to let you go scorched earth on Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and the entire operation. I promise. I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to give you the window. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show. House, you had that over back from March and April. Before this Parsons trade, where were you on Dallas? Because to me, they were like a fringe 7th seed. Now I am completely out on the Cowboys. Now, I don't know if they're necessarily going to blow up and be like a 4-13 or a 5-12 team. They still have Dak Prescott. They still have CeeDee Lamb. They had George Pickens in the offseason. Like, I think they'll be competitive. But in a division where you got the Eagles, you have your boy Jaden Daniels in Washington, and I expect regression from Washington, but still, I like them more. And I think the Giants are going to be better than people think. What was your read pre-Parsons trade, and now where do we stand on the Cowboys as far as 2025 is concerned?
So I liked the over for pre-Parsons, and I liked it, all the way going back to when the schedules were first released, like all the way back in like that March time frame. I like Dallas over 7.5. I thought that was one of the mispriced totals in the market, and I think it's hung in there. It's just that the juice has changed some. I still like it. I don't. The thing about Dallas is they weren't going to move the needle on defense. This is the return of Dak Prescott. That's the thesis for going over. And you put Dak Prescott with Pickens and that running back room getting just a tiny bit better. I think this Dallas Cowboys team is poised to be in a bunch of shootouts. That is why I invested in the over for 7.5 in the first place. I think Micah Parsons just sets this up to be a whole season worth of shootouts. I mean, I will be betting Dallas Cowboy overs, like the overs in all of these games, because their defense was already the back half of it a sieve. The one thing that gives me pause on the number, it's twofold. It is the combination of teams not having the game plan for Micah Parsons in terms of pass rush. So that creates, I feel like, some advantage. It takes away a big sort of scheme challenge for opposing teams. But the other part of it, and this is impossible to quantify, what is going on in that locker room on the defensive side of the football? How are those guys when they're having conversations? Like, we haven't seen any of the sort of leaders of the defense come out and say, they've done our boy dirty here. This was a bad outcome for us. It's been relatively quiet in that Dallas locker room in terms of outward communication. I'm interested in seeing, because so much of football is that immeasurable. What's going on inside that room? Who do those guys believe in? Do they believe in each other? And which way does this go? Does this go like, oh, this organization doesn't care about us? F these dudes. I'm going for mines. Or is it they rally
A
around and like,
rallying cry.
okay, yeah,
Correct.
that's exactly right. And that's impossible to quantify. That's the thing that would give me pause and make me worried about this Dallas future dream.
I'm doubling down on the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm taking them over 6.5 wins,
Ooh,
minus
double
155.
down. Yes.
Look,
Yes.
this trade was the right move, wrong execution. I think if you looked at the Dallas Cowboys, they were top heavy. If they were to pay Micah Parsons, they would be spending over 50% of their salary cap on Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. Well, Micah Parsons didn't really change the calculus of that defense. The defense was garbage. They were 28th in EPA per play last year, 31st in rushing success rate, 29th in rushing success rate. So, like, they could not stop the run, and they sucked on defense. And people are talking about Micah Parsons like he's this generational athlete. Well, if the defense sucked with him, like, I don't know how much worse it can get without him. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. So, if you ask me, I did feel like they should have traded Micah Parsons, but they should have traded him before the draft. I think if they were going to sign him, they should have signed him last year where the price doesn't get to $47 million. So I think Jerry Jones was right, but he just didn't handle it right. And I think obviously you're going to make this trade. Why would you trade him to the Green Bay Packers? That pick is going to be between 26 and 32. So now you're not even getting a true first round pick. You're basically getting 2 seconds. So I think that's the problem I have with this. I had no problem with him saying, look, we're not good enough with Micah Parsons. Go ahead and make that trade. But to make the trade in this manner, it's just disgusting. And I think we all watched that Cowboys documentary, and Jerry Jones, he speaks on why he doesn't want to hire a general manager and says he likes pain. Well, he gave pain to his friend, his fan base, because it's pretty clear that with Jerry Jones at the helm, we're never going to win anything. But at the end of the day, I don't think this changes the Dallas Cowboys win total this year. I truly don't. I think this Cowboys team was going to win based on their offense. We knew the defense was going to be trash. So Dak Prescott, you look out throughout his career, they've had a tremendously high floor. And I've said this before when we gave out the win total back in March, and we gave it out again on the NFC East preview. You look at Dak Prescott throughout his career, you're talking about a guy who's won 13 games, 9 games, 10 games, 8 games. He got injured the next year. They won 6. Then they went 12-5 3 years in a row. They won 7 games last year, and Dak Prescott barely played. So I think the floor for this team is 7 or 8 games. So I like over 6.5 wins. You know, one of my followers actually suggested this because I said this about the Titans. You could wait until the Cowboys lose week 1 and then jump on their win total. I think this team wins 7 or 8 games with or without Michael Parsons.
I'm glad you mentioned week 1. House, I know we'll dive into this coming up on Thursday, but we're not going to see you on Thursday. Don't you get the sense this week 1 game is going to have every Joe Schmo in America looking at the Cowboys saying, oh, they just traded Micah Parsons. There's no way in the world I can bet them. The Eagles are loaded. The Eagles are this. The Eagles are that. They got Saquon. They got Hurts. They got this great defense. I'm seeing that line north of 7, my man, House. That's looking awfully juicy as far as I'm concerned. Think about taking the Cowboys.
Where as a disciplined gambler, you're supposed to take the number. You have to take the number. Now, I will obviously have some action on it, but it's going to be teeny tiny action. The problem is the Philadelphia Eagles have absolutely owned the Dallas Cowboys. They don't just beat the Cowboys. They beat the living daylights out of the Cowboys, and they try and make a point. And I don't like this coming into the season with the Eagles as the Super Bowl champs on that primetime stage with the opportunity to embarrass the Cowboys. I don't want to be in front of that Eagles organization, which is so loaded on both sides of the ball, trying to come out and make a point. I just don't want to get in front of it. But the rational economics suggests that you're supposed to grab the number with the Cowboys. I'm going to do that. I am going to play it the way a smart gambler is supposed to do it, but in a very tiny increment. Because I'm going to hate myself when the Eagles go out 21-0 on the first 3 drives of the game.
See, I beg to differ. House, you said that the Eagles own the Cowboys. That's just not true. Last year they swept the Cowboys, obviously because Dak Prescott didn't play half the season. But outside of that, you look at the last couple of years, they've basically split with the Eagles. And if you go back to 2021, the the Cowboys swept the Eagles. So it's kind of like, it's a divisional game. You kind of see these teams, one team wins one game, the other team wins the other. So, especially in the Dak Prescott era, for the most part, these teams have split. Now, when it comes to this particular game, I just think there's too many question marks. We didn't see Dak Prescott play in the preseason, and he's coming off an injury. So I don't know what you're going to get from him. Also, they have a brand new head coach. So what do you get from him? I just think there's so many question marks that I would end up leaning towards the Eagles, but I think this being a market, now you're on the other side of 7. It was 6.5. Now you're 7.5, and you're laying that key number. And I just think it puts you in a bad spot when you're laying the worst of it. So as of right now, I'm probably going to lay off of it, but this is probably going to be a game where you're going to see so many teasers on the Eagles, so many money line parlays. I imagine the Podfather's going to have the Eagles in a money line parlay. But for me, this is a stay away right now.
Dream, I'm going to see you on Thursday in Las Vegas. And by the time we leave the studios in Las Vegas, I will have you fully convinced that you're betting the Dallas Cowboys when you were watching the game with your boy opening night. And I'm going to be pulling my inner Jimmy Johnson, a fellow JJ. How about them Cowboys? At least to cover 7.5 on Thursday night. Now,
Here's what I will say.
Yes.
A bet on the Cowboys is a bet on the over. So.
Because that means Dak Prescott's going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, I think that's how I would approach it more than anything. I would be approaching the total, but even that total has gone up since the trade of Michael Parsons. It was 46.5. Now it's 47.5. So I think obviously 48 and 49 are key, but I'd probably be looking that way as opposed to playing the Cowboys.
Gentlemen, this is what we're going to call pencils down, because for the better part of 6 weeks, whether it was division by division on the Ringer Gambling Show feed, AFC East, NFC East, AFC North, NFC North, on and on we go. We picked all the division winners. We gave you all sorts of futures. But now we have to lock in the week before the season the 7 playoff teams in each conference. And then, fellas, I want your Super Bowl representative. We don't got to go through the playoff field and saying, the 2 and the 7. Nobody cares. The 7 playoff teams and the team that is going to be playing out in Santa Clara in the middle of February. House, I'm giving you the T-box because I'm a man of honor. 7 and your AFC rep. Who's it going to be?
So we're doing the AFC first?
We'll do the AFC first. That's
okay.
Right.
This one was harder for me than the NFC, mainly because it feels less wide open. And that's probably, a reason to be a little bit guarded here. But obviously I say Bills to win the AFC East, they're in. Ravens to win the AFC North, they're in. Chiefs to win the AFC West, they're in. Texans to win the AFC South.
So you went with the chalk for all 4 divisions.
I just can't come up with the contrary argument unless there's an injury. And then, there can be injuries. That's what happens in football. But I'm not going to gamble on those injuries. And then my wild card teams, we all love the Broncos. They're my number 1 wild card team. And then this was the real challenge for me. I can't, in good conscience, put the Bengals in the playoffs with a trash defense that they are walking into this season with. I just can't do it, and I really worked it so hard to figure out a way to get the Bengals in. And we're all down on the Chargers. So I'm not going to repeat the same kind of makeup for the playoffs. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs this coming season.
My man, House.
I think
man.
That you're really gambling on the transformative effect that Liam Cohen's going to have on Trevor Lawrence. He's going to stay. They have weapons on offense. There's just no getting around it. And so where are we on defense with the Jaguars? Because of where they are in the AFC South, and their schedule is not impossible. I have the Jags in, and then I'm just you can't get me to bet against Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers getting into the playoffs until they miss. So that team getting the 9 or 10 wins and making the playoffs, you just have to bet it until not. So those are my 7. the representative for the Super Bowl, the Baltimore Ravens. I've said it on every one of these shows all season long. I love the Ravens this year. I think this is the year for the breakthrough. They have so much talent on both sides of the ball, and they clean up the stuff in terms of special teams and penalties, and they are going to be right there.
Now, Raheem, just so you know, Joe House and I have the exact same playoff teams in the AFC. There's a little bit of a difference. You're going to see when I unveil mine. But I'm going to let you go next because I just want everybody to know House and I have the exact same 7 teams in the AFC. Let's see if you make it 3 for 3.
Okay, obviously, I have the Baltimore Ravens winning the AFC North. The Chiefs are making the postseason. Obviously, I have the Houston Texans winning the AFC South. I have the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC East. I do have Denver in. I don't know who's going to win the division between them and the Chiefs, but those 2 are going to be in. So that's 5 right there. I'm going to throw a wild card. The bundle's going to like this. We're going with the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Indianapolis Colts. I was about to spit up my coffee. The way you phrased that with the bundle, I was thinking you were going to say Danny Dimes and Shane Steichen were going to be in the playoffs.
Not
So
all.
Tennessee, you're getting real frisky, Raheem. I like it.
Look, I mean, there's always a team who just comes out of nowhere. And I think that could be the team, especially in a weak division. So I'm going with the Tennessee Titans. And then I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not high on the defense, but I just think offense is more consistent than defense. And I think when you're looking at the remaining playoff teams, what is the best unit on the field? If you're taking, let's say, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Miami Dolphins, the Chicago Bears, not the Chicago Bears, the Los Angeles Chargers. If you're taking all of the units on the field, who has the best unit? I think it's by far the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm willing to bet on Joe Burrow making the postseason. They won 9 games last year. And with them winning 9 games, they probably should have won more, but McPherson missed a couple of kicks at the end. So I think they get the 10 wins, maybe 9 wins, and they get into the postseason. So that's my pick. And then obviously I'm with House on this. The Baltimore Ravens are representing the AFC. Best team, their best team in the league.
Okay, boys. 7 same teams this House. Here's my only difference. Jacksonville's going to win the division. Houston is going to be a wild card. I did not want to go all chalk with all 4 of these divisions in the AFC because I feel like somebody is going to upset the apple cart, and I did not want to go against the big 3. I think the big 3 are pretty established. They're pretty obvious. Buffalo, there's no way in the world they lose in the AFC East unless something happens to Josh Allen. The Baltimore Ravens are the most complete team in the AFC North, and there's a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and there's a coach by the name of Andy Reid that find a way to win 12, 13 games on a regular basis, so I'm not picking against them in their particular division. This is where we differ, though, fellas. Travis Kelce's getting engaged. And correct me if I'm wrong, Lamar Jackson can't get over the hump. Correct me if I'm wrong. Josh Allen, MVP, self-proclaimed, best quarterback now. Everybody's drooling over Josh Allen. I understand why. Can he beat Mahomes when it matters? I don't care what he plays like in the game. Raheem, we watched the AFC Championship game on loop, on repeat, for the better part of the last 5 years, whether it's in the second round or whether it's in the championship game, until I see number 17 go and take down the big bad wolf. I'm not picking against him. I'm done trying to find excuses to pick against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be better on the offensive line. They're going to be super well coached. And I got news for you, Raheem. I don't care if they're the 3 seed. Let them go on the road in Baltimore and Buffalo. Been there, done that. They have been able to get to a Super Bowl in that particular way. I think this could end up being a monstrous FU year from Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking the Chiefs. I know it sounds contrary because everybody likes Baltimore and Buffalo this year. Not me. Chiefs, Raheem.
Buffalo. I'm going to be honest with you. If they weren't in the AFC East, I would be down on them. I mean, they're coming into the season, and a large part of their secondary is already in the hospital.
They signed Jordan Poyer, who absolutely stunk for my team last year. Couldn't guard you and House. Just saying.
We'll talk about it later on this week, but they even lost one of their defensive tackles yesterday.
Torn Achilles.
Yeah, so I mean, the defense is already banged up, and they weren't very good last year. They just, they were able to capitalize on turnovers. They had a league high 33 takeaways. Well, if that regresses this year, that puts them in a really bad spot. So I don't think Buffalo is as good as Kansas City or Baltimore.
Okay, let's get to the NFC, where I think it is way more fascinating as far as who your Super Bowl pick's going to be. I think you're getting real cute in the AFC if you're taking somebody other than the big three. That's just my personal take. I'm sure some people are going to get cute with Houston. Maybe some people are going to get really cute with like a Denver. I don't see it. I don't see it. That's me. House, I think there are like 5 or 6 different teams you could take in the NFC, and you could sell me on it. Now, I am not taking the chalk. I'm just warning you guys. I'm not taking the chalk. Philadelphia is too easy. It's just too hard to repeat. Too many things need to go right in order to repeat. House, let's see if we have the same 7 playoff teams again.
I bet we don't. I have the Eagles winning the East. I have the Packers winning the North. I have San Francisco winning the West, and I have Tampa winning the South. And then the wild card teams for me are the Lions, because I think the Lions are going to be very good this season. I have the Cardinals in, and you guys can say whatever you want. I'm not going to sit here on one of these future programs and not put the Washington Commanders in the playoffs this upcoming year. I'm just not. They are in. So I have.
So you have the Rams out, correct?
I have the Rams out because let's. There is not a great track record of guys in the mid 30s with a back injury surviving a season, and I'm just Sean McVay is amazing, and this is not disrespectful towards him to say that I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo is a reclamation project.
Okay. We do not have the same 7 playoff teams. Raheem, I'll go because division winners, we are aligned, Joe House. Tampa, who I love, Philadelphia, Green Bay, San Francisco. My wild cards, we have 2 out of 3. Didn't want to pick Detroit to miss the playoffs. I think there's value to do so, but I haven't getting in. Too much respect for Dan Campbell and that roster. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm just telling you guys now, I bet them to make the playoffs. I am going to be belly aching and bitching and moaning about Kyler Murray all season. Just remember I said this. They're going to be sitting pretty. They're probably going to choke down a stretch, and I'm going to feel like a fool for putting them in the playoffs, but I'm doing it anyway because I think the number's too good. But I'm not picking against my guy, McVay. I just think he's too good a coach. I think Stafford will play enough games. I think they're going to get there. I have the NFC West getting 3 playoff teams, and my Super Bowl team, I thought I was going to be on an island by myself with this one, guys. And then I found out this morning, somebody texted me, Cousin Sal took Tampa as well. I mean, they are absolutely screwed now. So I apologize, Baker Mayfield. I apologize, Todd Bowles, because Sally and I are completely aligned on this one. I think Tampa Bay is going to win 12, 13 games. I think they have enough talent to be a 1 or a 2 seed. And just too much San Fran, too much Philly, too much Green Bay. I had Green Bay, but now everybody likes them, so I want to be different here. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rematch of the COVID Super Bowl. Kansas City, Tampa. How about that? Raheem, last but not least.
All right, we got division winners. Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Arizona.
Raheem loves his Cardinals. He loves them.
We're going to go with San Francisco to make a wild card. We're going to go with Chicago.
I knew you were going to go Chicago. I'm actually surprised you didn't pick them to win the division. You did bet that, though, because the numbers.
I did, but obviously the Micah Parsons.
Micah, of course.
Changes everything. I'm going to say Detroit is going to miss the postseason.
Ooh, okay.
This last one is really, really difficult for me because I'm not really that high on this team. I do think they were a little bit fraudulent last year, but I have so much respect for the quarterback that I have to take him to make the postseason. I'm going with Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders.
Hey,
House is happy. I got to be the jerk to pick against House's team. Sorry, House.
It's all good.
It's like I'm betting on the don't pass line with the 2 of you guys. You know what I mean? It's like Raheem back in Vegas, betting the don't pass. I'm betting against Jayden Daniels.
That was New Orleans, but
New Orleans, Vegas, it's all semantics.
Dream, who's your Super Bowl contender?
I am really struggling with this.
Me too. That's why I'm asking. I want to see. I have 2 names written down, to be honest with you.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's not going to be Philadelphia. I think it's Green Bay, or I think it's San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
I was between Tampa and San Francisco for what it's worth, House. Those were my 2.
So now I have to add a little San Francisco because I actually think that this Eagles team is so perfectly built on both sides of the ball and have so much built up institutional excellence that it would take a pretty dramatic injury for the Eagles to get, derailed. So I have what I was prepared to argue for two plays. It's the Ravens against the Eagles at 19-1, and some of this is driven by the number. I love the Ravens against the Packers, available in the FanDuel Sportsbook right this second at 30-1. And the pathway for the Packers, we're all believers in the path. The Packers 30-1 for Ravens Packers. Now, some of that for sure, is the risk of the Ravens also. I guess I have to go ahead and get a small bit on Ravens San Francisco as well. I'm sure that's, we'll look at the sports book while we're chatting here and see what that will fire off at. But I'm not trying to hedge. My number one team coming out of the NFC is the Eagles. So I have Ravens Eagles at 19-1. That's my Super Bowl matchup.
Guys, I have to bet Kansas City Tampa now at 60-1. I have to do it. Like, you have to get involved. It's just too much juice to not have a ticket. House, you're picking the Ravens to win a Super Bowl, though, correct?
Yes.
Raheem?
I'm going to pick the Ravens, but I'll say this. Whoever comes out of the AFC is winning the Super Bowl. I think one of those three superhuman quarterbacks, and I know I trash.
We say this a lot, though, Raheem. You got to be careful. A lot of people said that last year, and Philadelphia snaked it,
That's true. But I
mean, that's your feel, so I understand.
Yeah,
you go what you got.
I think I really believe it this year more than anything. Just because I'm not high on the NFC at all. And I think the Eagles truly took a step back. And we didn't say that last year. You got to remember, we did pick the Eagles.
No, we were in on the Eagles. We liked
all on the Eagles. And then, in the Super Bowl, I had the Eagles first half. And I think a lot of us were even reluctant to even play a side in the Super Bowl because of Mahomes. And we felt like the Eagles were better anyway. So, this year, I just think the NFC is pretty weak. Unless a team emerges, I think the Packers are that team. But I think the one thing I do want to say about this Packers team is Jordan Love is really going to have to make the leap this year because
it's go time.
Yeah,
excellent
time. Yeah, I mean, it can't be any excuses.
Well, the excuses is his bum-ass receiving core dropping footballs and the impact on their offense and early downs because those bums kept dropping balls. If they don't drop balls, then the performance by Jordan Love last season would have been, kind of on par with the standard that he set the previous season. He regressed last year because his bum-ass, he was hurt and his core dropped the football. So if they can hold on to catchable balls, and we'll have those metrics, showing their face to us early in the season. But here's the thing, as we sit here today, it's September the 1st, we're getting going. I want to see how the trench warfare develops because it is now etched so firmly in my brain. The way that the Eagles beat the Chiefs last year, it was trench warfare. They kicked their ass on the offensive line. They kicked their ass on the defensive line. And let's, as we watch this season play out, see which units look strong. Right now, this is part of why I'm enthusiastic about the Packers because the Packers have both sides covered.
They sure do.
A top 10 offensive line, and adding Micah Parsons to that defensive line and getting some pressure out of that defensive line. It was the only vulnerability in that defense. Jeff Hafley, very quietly, that Packers defense was so opportunistic last year. They created turnovers. The secondary, Xavier McKinney's addition held down that secondary. I mean, there's a lot of reason to be enthusiastic about the Packers. Let's see if they can hold up their end of the bargain.
Gang, you are watching and listening to the Ringer Gambling Show with the East Coast Bias Boys. Remember, 5 days a week, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific. We got a full cast of characters. We're going to be on every Monday. I'm going to love it, man. This is going to be my Monday routine. Wake up, move the car, get the coffee, drive into the studio, hang with the fellas, bellyache about bets that are lost, hopefully celebrate a couple that are won, and go about our merry way throughout the course of the week. So you want to subscribe via YouTube. Obviously, if you listen, follow the page, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get podcasts, all that good stuff. Taking a break for the pod. But don't go anywhere because Anthony DeBundo, the return of 3 and out, he's back. Let's go. All right. The bet is in. Steak, Sunday, 1 o'clock. Anthony DeBundo and I are matching. We look like we should be ball boys on the Syracuse coaching staff. Defense optional for the Orange AD against the Tennessee Volunteers. But it's good to have you back, my friend. Welcome to the show. Are you ready to go?
It is good to be back. I'm fearing the steak dinner that I'm going to owe you on Sunday. But you know what? The
you're being
line,
such a coward, and the reverse jinx is so unappreciated. I just want to state that on record. It's so unappreciated.
noted. Yeah, it's funny. I listened to the first half of this, and I thought for a second Raheem was actually going to have a conniption when you suggested that you might like the Colts over. I could not like the Colts over any less. If you gave me money and said, please go to the sports book and bet Colts over, I might like ask you to donate to charity or something, or do something different with it, because there's got to be better ways to spend your money than betting Daniel Jones and this clown car organization right now.
And I saw a nugget, by the way, Debundo. Colts have not won an opener since like 2013. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's been a long time going 0-1.
Oh, it'll be so on brand for me to lose a stake bet when the Colts win their first opener in a decade against my pathetic team. So I'm already
covered last year, though. I think they covered last year.
They did cover, depending on which number.
I don't care if they cover. It's about winning. It's about winning.
I care if they cover. It's a gambling
there's no spread on this game. This is a money line bet.
Well, our bet is no spread. Yeah.
Okay.
At 1.5, Raheem, I mean, how could you do a spread? You know what I mean?
AJ, you're such a good guy. You're not going to make me have to cover the 1.5.
Oh, Dolphins losing by 1. I'm already putting that juju in the air. Oh my goodness. But Debundo, enough about our pathetic teams. I want to get to some week 1 stuff, but you bring us 3 elements to the table. That's what you do each and every football Monday. It's what you will be doing for us throughout the course of the year. You allow us to think. You allow some thoughts to marinate. So, thought number 1, take it away, sir.
I think it's always funny. Like, we come into the NFL season with these preconceived ideas of who is good, who isn't good. And then by like week 3, we've completely scrambled the deck and we have no idea who's going to be, a good team. And a lot of it, I think, ended up being driven by these coordinators who kind of come out of nowhere. And, 2 years ago, it was Ben Johnson. Last year, for a couple of weeks, it was Clint Kubiak and the Saints. And Vic Fangio's defense comes out of nowhere. And then these guys end up becoming head coaching name candidates. Bobby Slowick, we loved him, then we hated him, then he got fired. Now Nick Caley comes in. So I think one of the big storylines to kind of watch and think about is who are the coordinators this year, and try to get out ahead of it. Because I think if you can get out ahead of who good coaches and coordinators are before the market does, it's a huge way to think about NFL betting in a way that isn't just kind of relying off of last year and trying to figure out how things change. Because really, and I always joke about this, and I didn't originate this, but not for long is what the NFL stands for. It really does feel like there's going to be a lot of turnover this year. We've had a couple of years in a row of stability. So
that's interesting. I feel like the coordinators with the big dogs still. Like if Joe Brady, don't get me wrong, he's going to be a head coach soon. He's got Josh Allen as his quarterback. You know what I mean? Like I can't be getting nuts about Joe Brady as a coordinator. We're talking about the guys on that next tier, right? Like the Ben Johnson to come out of nowhere, the Liam Cohen, or the Dave Canales, that sort of coordinator on the middle of the road team. That's the ascending team, correct?
Right. So I have a few names that I want to bring to the group.
Let's hear them.
The first name for me, Clint Kubiak. And he was in New Orleans last year.
Here we go.
Right. I think, maybe the Saints were always going to stink. Maybe they beat up on bad defenses, right? They played Carolina and Dallas the first 2 weeks of the season. They dominated them. Everybody got a little excited. Like, wait a second, what do we have here with the Saints? But they really were a good offense until everybody on the team got hurt. O-line, quarterback, receivers. I mean, they basically ran out of players, and they were starting Rattler, and Hayner was coming in, and there's only so much a coordinator can do. But what I found impressive about Kubiak last year, and I think this is what's most important for this year, is that all of us agreed that the Saints' offensive line was terrible. After 2 weeks, they were great until everybody got hurt. That they were actually, able to scheme around some potential offensive line deficiencies. Okay, now he goes to Seattle, where they tried the Ryan Grubb spread offense. It didn't work. McDonald fired him after year 1. They bring in Kubiak. What can Kubiak get out of Darnold? Because if he can, make the Shanahan scheme work, he's a Shanahan disciple, then the Seahawks could be cooking with something. I don't know how talented the skill group is. I think everybody's kind of looking around like, all right, who else besides Smith and Jigba is going to be good this year? And, they've got a couple of, camp heroes and buzz guys for the fantasy world. But I think they're a really interesting team because we all like the defense, right? We're all in agreement. The defense should be pretty good.
And well coached.
I've said this last week. How much worse are they than the Broncos, for example? If you think this offense can be average, we're saying average offense and a good defense, yet their win total, Seattle's win total is 7.5, 6.5 at some books. And the Broncos are getting, named as like the fourth best team in the AFC. So I think there's some interesting ways to look at Seattle, and Clint Kubiak could be one of the names to watch.
Okay, so you're in on Kubiak. If he can turn Darnold into 3/4 the quarterback he was in Minnesota last year, you without question cooking with something. I just think tough to ask, and kind of out on Sam Darnold after what I saw down the stretch, and especially in that postseason game against the Rams. Okay, so you give me Kubiak. Give me another name.
So the other name is Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Raiders. They were a sneaky okay defense last year, especially the second half of the season. They did a really good job limiting explosives. They were a top 5 success rate defense in the second half. All these things reflect well on the defensive coordinator in a pretty clown car organization that they were last year. Like, not a well necessarily. Offense was a disaster. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, the offense was among the worst in the NFL. And so new year, new offensive coordinator. We have a CEO type head coach in Pete Carroll that has a strong track record of success. I think there's a world where this defense, after losing a ton of players and a ton of snaps from last year and losing Wilkins in the preseason, they could actually be okay. And if they're just okay, can the Raiders be a team? I kind of have circled the Seahawks and the Raiders as my two maybe longer shot dark horses in the two conferences for potential wild card runs. And I think the Raiders, if that defense is just okay, we think the offense is a pretty high floor with Smith and the talent that they have around him. That could be a team that comes out of nowhere, and Graham's going to get a lot of credit for that if they do it.
Interesting. Defensive coordinator DeBundo, keep an eye on, and I know I'm going back to my team. Weaver did an unbelievable job with the Dolphin defense last year. They had injuries galore. The team was a mess. They got pass rush talent now, a lot of it. I mean, with Phillips if he plays, Chubb if he plays, Robinson if he plays, Sealer. I know Judon is 34 and on the back 9 of his career. If he could turn that secondary into a respectable secondary, I think he's one of the coordinators to watch maybe to go and get a job. If Miami exceeds expectations, that's somebody I would throw on this list.
The problem, I mean, certainly, right? Like you mentioned with the secondary concerns, though, like losing Kohu, and I just don't know how much talent there is, but he's another guy, right? A not very talented defense on paper, but I think a lot of our questions about how good defenses are, and the reason that we struggle to predict who the best defenses are going to be is because we just don't have the same level of data for defense. Like, we don't have the obvious measurables on defensive players except pass rushers to really be able to say, like, yes, this guy is incredible. Like, unless you're grinding the tape and watching like how this linebacker fits the run gap or how this safety, covers over the top, it's really hard to have measurables for this. So I think that's one of the reasons that defense is so much harder to predict. So like you said, we don't think Miami's defense is good on paper, but if they end up being better, that could be a good Weaver look as well.
Okay. We've done a bunch of awards. We did an awards pod, YouTube stream Thursday. We gave out MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, we gave out every award imaginable. We now allow you to jump in on the action. Is there an award that you really like? Is there a player that we should be targeting? Like, give you an open forum, open floor. Give us a couple award bets you like.
Have you guys done Protector of the Year at all by chance?
No, I passed on that one. No, we did not. We did coach.
No Protector of the Year?
We did Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year. No, I'm passing on. Even Raheem gave me Comeback Player of the Year. He tried to get in my good graces and gave me Tua at a really good number.
I mean, that's a good bet if he plays. And people were talking about how he should retire from football.
Narrative award, as the Bunda sneezes. God bless you. But awards, what do we got?
Yeah, Protector of the Year, I think Lane Johnson's really interesting. It's the first year they're doing the award, so I think it'll be like a legacy older guy. And the Eagles' offensive line is about as safe as a bet as there is in football. And he never allows pressures. He's an incredible, off the field, on the field leader. And so I think Johnson has a pretty good argument there. He'd be up there, I think, with like a Trent Williams type. But if you're not a big Niners guy this year, which I'm not, then you would probably look away from Williams. So maybe Lane Johnson. But I think the Texans are an interesting team for this. And this goes back to even the coordinators, where like we all thought Bobby Slowick stunk, even when he was getting head coaching buzz. And now they bring in Nick Haley. I don't know what to make of the Texans offense. I think it's one of the great mysteries of this team. But what I do know is that Nico Collins last year was arguably the best receiver in the NFL before he got a hamstring injury. And he is CJ Stroud's guy. Everybody else in that offense is either injured or really young. Like the Joe Mixon situation, doesn't seem like he's playing football this year. Nick Chubb, O-line, just okay at best. And a bunch of rookies behind him and Christian Kirk. So it's going to be the Nico Collins and CJ show again. 20-1 offensive player of the year. Like if their offense is good enough, he's going to be a huge part of that. I think he could be in the mix. He was top 5 in yards per route run last year. So Collins is an interesting one. And then on the defensive side, Will Anderson, 16-1 defensive player of the year. I think
you guys were all over Will Anderson. That was a Raheem House special. They loved Will Anderson.
We do.
All over it.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's going to take the leap into the elite group, right? Like if there's going to be a guy this year.
That's the thesis.
That's how it feels to
we
me.
all agree with that. Opposite
And we
Daniel
think
Hunter.
their defense
Let's
will
go.
be good. There's a lot of bad lines in that division.
Yeah.
But I think the Colts line is overrated at this point. And they get to play Tampa in week 2 also, which Wirfs will not be there. So I think it's a pretty good start to the season for him with this Rams O-line, which was better in the second half, but not great. And a statue in Stafford back there. And then, Bucks week 2. Like I think the Texans defense could eat. And I think Anderson's the guy to take the leap into the superstardom.
Okay. So I want to get some week 1 picks. It's way too early, but it's not too early. It's Monday now. I'm salivating. I'm drooling. I'm ready for week 1. I'm ready for it. But we gave out Super Bowl picks. We gave out playoff picks. I know this wasn't a homework assignment for you, but I trust that you can handle a pop quiz. You're a good student. You were probably an excellent student at Syracuse. You were probably a better student than me. Be that as it may.
Professors would have
is
mixed reviews on that.
We'll compare transcripts. Give me your Super Bowl for what it's worth. Let's go there. And then, give me a Super I don't need you to rattle off the 7 playoff teams, but give me, a surprise AFC team and a surprise NFC team and your Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, so AFC surprise team, I guess we'll go Raiders. Although I do appreciate the Titans shout. I think it was Raheem that mentioned the Titans.
Sure was.
I did bet them to make the playoffs as well. I think the Titans, up there close to 4-1 are a good bet. There's always one, and Cam Ward just gives them the kind of upside they've never really had in the last 4 or 5 years. So Titans, Raiders are the 2 for me in the AFC. In the NFC, I guess Seattle. I'm not as high on the Bears as everybody else, just because I'm not too much of a Caleb Williams head, so to speak, although I do like what they've done on the defensive side of the ball as well. And I'm kind of probably a bridge too far for the Giants, although I agree with your point that they'll probably be better than people think as well. My Super Bowl pick was Baltimore and Green Bay. Now it's everybody's Super Bowl pick, which I don't mind. I think I picked Green Bay and Kansas City last year. I thought that Green Bay had the chance to break out. I thought almost everything went wrong for Green Bay, and they were still right there. Like they were right in the mix. They were competitive with Philly in that playoff game, despite Jordan Love being banged up and Christian Watson not playing. And so I think you mentioned Green Bay, and it's obvious now. But yeah, 30-1. It was as high as 42-1 last week to be the exact Super Bowl matchup. And for all of the talk about Mahomes, and I've been one of those people just banging the drum like Mahomes this, Mahomes that, Mahomes this. I really do think this Baltimore offense is at a point now where it's not going to take Mahomes dink and dunk ball is not going to be enough anymore. And they're going to have to level up, or again, it's possible. Hope that Lamar takes a step back in a big moment. We've seen it before, but if the Ravens play up to their potential, this Chiefs offense that we've seen for the last 2 years, last year and a half of just bleh, it's not going to be enough.
I think that's fair. Totally, totally fair. At the same time, though, one of those 2 quarterbacks, for all the love, for all the praise, for all the accolades they get, they got to go and beat the big bad wolf.
Yes.
Neither one has done it. Joe Burrow has.
But
the other
we've
2
said
have
this.
not. I don't care if Josh Allen's played well in the games either. He hasn't beaten them, period.
Right. But we said this about Manning too. And it was year 8 when Manning finally broke through and beat Tom Brady in the playoffs and then, won the next three. But
I mean, Bob
Peyton,
Sanders was healthy for the first time in his life.
right. But
Listen,
that's the
it can
thing
be
too.
done. Obviously, they're great players, but until it gets done, I
Yeah.
think it's fair to question. That's all.
Yeah.
We talk about Josh Allen, and you're right. Like, he had the ball down 3 in the fourth quarter, but it's as much of a Sean McDermott problem for me as it is a Josh Allen problem. Like, the fact that no matter what iteration of defense they roll up with to the playoff game, they seem to have no answer for Mahomes.
Yeah, that's true.
That seems to be like a bigger issue almost than anything Josh Allen's doing. I mean, you can go back and look, and yes, Josh has had his moments, but even like Josh played one of the greatest playoff games of all time, and they gave up
21
14
and 13
points in the last 2
Yeah, I
minutes.
understand.
Yeah, like at some point, it is a McDermott problem too, and whatever. Bobby
I don't
Babish
disagree
and
with that,
whole
but it's
brain
collective,
trust.
right? It's
Yes.
collective.
Yeah.
Okay. We're salivating. We're ready for week 1. I'm ready for week 1. Raheem is ready for week 1. House is ready for week 1. You need to give us 3 bets that you have already made for the wonderful card that starts Thursday. Then we have a Friday game in Brazil. Let's hope the turf is manageable. And then it is a very good slate of games for the Sunday 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock window, despite the fact that we're cherry picking a bunch of games. You have 3 for us. I have a couple as well. But let's hear yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do I have to be like more coy? Because I think we're in competition with each other this year now.
We are, but I mean, I can tell you the bets I'm making are the bets I'm making. So if you like it, great.
All right.
If I don't like it, great. It is what it is.
All right. This one's simple for me. Cleveland Browns. Week
Ooh,
1.
fading that Cincinnati early season trend I see.
Yeah, I just also, when you're just when everybody is sure that these teams are going to suck, they often suck, but they're not often awful in week 1.
Patriots
Like,
last year is a perfect example.
There's a lot of early season juice. Nobody knows they're bad yet. Nobody's injured yet. Like, a lot of the worst teams in the NFL always end up just being the most injured ones too. Nobody's really injured yet. And Cleveland, like, okay, yeah. Am I like excited to go to war with Joe Flacco for 17, 18 games? Am I thinking that the Browns could pull the plug and go with a worse quarterback like Gabriel or Shadur or Pickett? Yes. And that's part of like oh, wow, there's no upside for the Browns. But in one game at home against their division rival, a team they know well, a team that they have played very well against in this matchup in the past. And you have to go back to last season, Browns-Bengals. It was one of the ugliest games of the year. Browns couldn't get a first down. They lost, but the Bengals also struggled to move the ball. They've had pretty good answers for the Cincinnati offense. And yeah, like the Bengals defense in preseason was such a shambles that I think Cleveland could have some success, moving the ball. So am I excited to bet it? Probably not. But this line to me is pricing in that the Browns are some generationally bad team. And I think it's hard to price them that way at this point in the season.
House, is that a yay or nay early?
It's a strong yay for me. And the point that DeBundo made about the defense, like Jim Schwartz has seen Joe Burrow, he's seen this offense, and they're effective. One of the things I'm worried about with the Browns this season, that defense was a top 3 defense, especially the beginning of the season in 2023. They were incredible at home, especially in 2023. The personnel is basically there. Now, there's a couple of big names that are no longer part of the defensive makeup that 23 team had. They still have a bunch of horses. It's still a legit good defense. That's part of the bounce back potentially for the Browns if they're healthy. I mean, this is 5.5 has an extra 2.5 points that are unnecessary to me. So it feels like value.
Raheem?
Well, you guys know I spoke about the total in this game. I like the over 45.5. It's now up to 47.5. That's the way I was approaching this game. I don't really want to side in this game just because I feel like the Cincinnati Bengals, they played Joe Burrow and the first team offense a ton in the preseason for a reason, because they wanted to get off to a faster start. And this is a game where I think Joe Burrow is probably going to have his best first game of the season. I don't know what you're going to get from Cleveland. Obviously, I don't want to lay points on the road with the Cincinnati Bengals defense. So to me, the over 45.5, which I spoke about on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, that was the best play for me. But I'm not mad at this play from DeBundo at all.
Okay, DeBundo, 1 down. I have no problem with the play as well. I don't know if I'm necessarily dying to go and bet the Browns. If I had to bet the game, it would be Cleveland or pass. Game number 2.
I will say Joe Flacco just over machine. I mean, just lobs the ball down the field, turnovers, big
Just keep
plays.
them upright. Keep
That's
them
the Joe
upright.
Flacco special. Yeah, game number 2. Let's go to Houston and the Rams. I like the under 44.5. I'm concerned about both offenses. I mean, we didn't really see a ton of Matt Stafford because of this injury thing. He's practicing, then he's not practicing, then he's practicing again, then he's retiring, then he's coming back, then he's figuring it out as he goes. And you guys talked about the Rams' uncertainty. We've also discussed in the past the Rams' slow starts. I mean, last year until the fourth quarter, the Rams couldn't move the ball on the Lions. They struggled mightily in that game to block. And you can go back 2 years where the Rams were pretty sluggish in the first half against the Seahawks as well. They've had these slow starts, 1-4 and 3-6. So I think there's questions about the Rams offense. And then on the other side, we've got a McVay disciple in Caley as the offensive coordinator, first time OC. A lot of turnover there. Stroud and Collins have not been on the best of pages in camps and picking up this offense from what I've heard. And so I'm a little concerned about their offense as well to get going. I do think the Rams defense really came on strong end of last season with the young guys kind of making the leap. And I know we all like this Houston defense as well. So I think the total's a smidge high. I like the under 44.5.
That game is a whole house. When I've been going through the card over the last couple of days, it's just reeked of stay away from me because of what's going on with Matthew Stafford. And I don't have a read on it. I like that Ram defense a lot too, DeBundo. They get after the quarterback. They played really well in the second half of last year. Houston, LA, I can guarantee you this, Joe House, that will not be featured in my Ring on 107. No,
Actually,
thank you.
I have a strong read on this, JJ.
Oh, do you?
Let's hear
Oh,
it,
we
Dream.
will.
I'm interested.
Well,
Texans first half. I knew it. I was thinking that.
Here's the thing. On the podcast about a month ago, I spoke about taking Houston at +2.5, and I also spoke about teasing them. And the thing is, DeBundo, he already said he liked the under. So if you like the under, and you're talking about a quarterback who has a back injury coming into this game, and he had an epidural this offseason, if you're teasing the Houston Texans, you get way more value here with those points. Now, I personally like the Houston Texans just because I think their defense they have the best unit on the field. And then right now, they probably have the best quarterback on the field because Matthew Stafford is banged up. And we know about the Rams' slow starts. Now, last week on this very same show, I spoke about the quarterbacks who didn't play in the preseason. There were 9 quarterbacks who didn't play in the preseason. Well, 6 of them play against each other. The Eagles and the Cowboys, Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott, they play against each other. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they play against each other. Baker Mayfield and Michael Penix, they play against each other. So those cancel out. Well, there's 3 more quarterbacks who didn't play in the preseason. If you go back to 2024, teams who rested their starting quarterback in the preseason, 1-5 against the spread in the first half, 3-3 against the spread full game. You go back the year before that, 2-7 against the spread in the first half, and 6-3 against the spread in the full game. You go back to last year's Rams game. The Rams were down 13-7 at halftime, and they ended up winning 33-13 or something like that. So Matthew Stafford gets off to these slow starts. I really like the Houston Texans on the first half, and I also like them full game because I think they might even win that game outright.
That was the thing with them last year. They were a good first half team, and then after halftime, I don't know if Slowick was taking naps or if they were just like, all right, good job, guys, but they couldn't score in the second half last year. They were pretty good on the script. Obviously, a whole new offensive regime, but that does lead credence to it. They were such a good offensive team last year, or first half team last year.
Yeah, but I like the teaser too. I mean, I know teasing is rough right now just because a lot of the sports books, they're charging 130, 140, but
crazy.
If you could find a cheap price on the Houston Texans, that is a excellent Stanford Wong teaser.
There's 8 Stanford Wong teasers this week. I don't know if every spread is either 7.5, 8.5, 1.5, or 2.5. It's kind of funny.
I need one more from you, DeMondo.
I did take some Dallas for what it's worth. It's not on my list, but I did take some Dallas.
You and me both.
Yep.
I saw 7.5 and I pounced.
I think there's still, we all talk about the Eagles defense. They've had a camp battle at CB2. outside opposite Mitchell, and like nobody won it. So then they made a trade, and then this guy Jacorian Bennett from the Raiders. The Raiders secondary looks terrible, but they were happy to trade this guy Bennett. So I don't think he's great. And their second safety next to Blankenship is a question. I still have some concerns about the Eagles secondary going into the season. I think Fangio gets it figured out, but it might not be a right away thing. My third bet.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean it's up to be square, but one team has so much turnover with Detroit here, losing both coordinators, so much change. Whereas Green Bay, we'll see what kind of shape Micah Parsons in. We'll see how many snaps he plays. I think that's a big question. I was betting Green Bay anyway.
That's what I was going to say. That's one of the two bets I've already made, the bundle. I took a minus 1.5.
Yeah, I like Green Bay here. I mean, I think Detroit will be fine. I don't think the doomsday scenarios are pretty off the table just because of their talent. But I think it could be a rough start to the season. Betting against Dan Campbell is never smart, but I'm doing it anyway.
Actually, DeBundo, I wanted to ask you about this on your coordinator segment, because I think there's 3 coordinators who are probably the most important coordinators this year. And just in terms of the turnover, obviously you have John Morton taking over for offensive coordinator. You have Kelvin Shepard taking over for defensive coordinator. What do you think about those guys? And then obviously in Cincinnati, you got Al Golden taking over. What do you feel about those guys? How are they going to change things? How are they going to impact these teams? Because, I mean, that's key.
Yeah, I think Detroit is also a question about the O-line as well, like losing Ragnow. So not only are you losing, the guy who's in McVay's ear before the snap, and it's just a new guy, and I think there's uncertainty there, but you lose the center, right, who's so important in protections and stuff like that. I don't know. I think that's one of the main reasons I'm struggling to figure out what I think of Detroit this year. I haven't bet anything on the Lions either way. I thought about some missed playoffs, thought about some under, but the road schedule's really tough. But I think it is honestly one of the hardest things, and I have no strong opinion on either coordinator. I was not the biggest Aaron Glenn guy anyway. Like I bet against Detroit's defense a lot last year, even before they got hurt, and to varying degrees of success. But I really don't know what to make of their coordinator. So I think that's one thing that you'll be able to watch closely, and maybe one of the most important things you can take away from Week 1 is just what the Detroit offense and defense looks like under new leadership.
Boys, before we say goodbye, I want a parting thought. I want to bet you have made. I know House, we're in competition. The bundle, we're in competition. We're still gentlemen, scholars. I'm going to bet 10 zillion games. So I could throw 1 or 2 out there. It might be a part of the Ring 107. Raheem may look at me and say, JJ, you're an idiot. We're not betting this game. That's it. It's out. Joe House, give me a bet.
Yeah, Dream's going to be mad. And this number has it's stayed pretty solid. I'm playing a teaser. I've played it in an increment that
it's allowed.
But it's a big increment. Dream's gonna be mad because I'm stealing it. It's absolutely the Denver Broncos. You're teasing them down to 1.5 points at home against rookie quarterback Cam Ward. Welcome to the NFL, Cam Ward. Here is the Denver Broncos defense, and then it's exactly the other leg is the Houston Texans teasing up from what is it now, 1.5 up to 7.5. Anything over a touchdown against this Rams team in the context especially of a low total, that's great value. Dream made the point. That's my favorite bet, honestly.
I'm betting it with you, House. I'll ride. Family bet.
Yeah, that's definitely a family bet. I absolutely love it.
We're all on the same team in the end, right? It's us against the books.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully.
right.
Listen, FanDuel is great to us. We love FanDuel. We want FanDuel's money. That's the idea. We want to take from FanDuel over the course of the year. We love you guys at FanDuel, but we want to win. We're winners. We want to win. Raheem, give me a bet.
Okay, this one should move. I gave you guys a lot this preseason. Obviously, I gave
you did.
Yeah, but this one I did not give out yet. We're going to go with Baltimore Ravens plus 1.5. They should close as favorites.
Yeah.
Like I've mentioned this a number of times, but the Bills secondary is all in the hospital. You got Max Harrison, their first round pick. He's on injured reserve. Trey White is already banged up. They're reliant on Jamarcus Ingram and Dorian Strong, and they have no depth in the secondary. And Dwayne Carter, not Little Wayne, but defensive tackle Dwayne Carter tore his Achilles. So, I just don't know how they slow down this Ravens offense. And DeBundo, he already spoke about how great this Ravens offense was and how the Chiefs might not be able to keep up with them. And the Bills defense, last year they had 33 takeovers. 33 takeaways. So I just don't think if they regress any little bit in terms of, turnovers, I just don't know how they get the stops against this Ravens offense. They should close as favorites. I really love this play a lot.
And it's a revenge spot, the Bunda. That's what I
Yeah,
love
that's
about
the
it from a
thing.
Baltimore perspective. That's a revenge spot after the playoffs last year.
And Zay Flowers didn't play in that game. Like, I bet Buffalo. I felt a little lucky the way it ran out, to be honest. Like, I thought, Buffalo did a decent job controlling the run game. Baltimore did win the box score. Of course, there were the Lamar mistakes. There was the Andrews mistakes.
Andrews, ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
but Zay Flowers didn't play, and that was one of the main reasons where I was like, I think I trust Buffalo at home here if it's late in the fourth quarter. I don't really feel the same way with a full strength Buffalo or full strength Baltimore, banged up Buffalo going into this game with the revenge factor. I think the way to play this is Ravens, and then maybe grab Bills 1 seed after they lose, because I think that's a very possible thing. Ravens schedule's tougher. Bills only leave the Eastern time zone one time this year, which is crazy.
Gents, I've been banging the drum for this bet all summer. And I got petrified when I saw the books drop this number half point, because I said, what in God's name am I missing? It went back to 3 when I checked this morning before our show. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not losing to the New York Jets in week 1. They're not. I know that there's a narrative out there, Aaron Rodgers, the Jet revenge. Mike Tomlin knows everything there is to know about Justin Fields. He has a much better team. The Jets are not winning that game. The only way they're winning that game is Aaron Rodgers looks like a 45-year-old quarterback. I can't wait to bet the Steelers. I can't wait to bet the Steelers. I can't wait. All of a sudden now, Justin Fields is going to look like the second coming. I watched him all training camp, all summer, airmailing throws, throwing balls at people's feet. I'll take the better head coach, and I'll take still the more talented quarterback, because it's still Aaron Rodgers. Sorry. The bundle hates it, I could tell.
I don't hate it. I don't like laying 3 there on the road.
I understand.
I don't know.
That.
I don't know what
It's a
to
friends
do
don't
with
let
the
friends
Steelers.
bet Aaron Rodgers bet, but I'm making it anyway. I'm telling you now.
The Pittsburgh skill position depth chart is remarkably untalented.
It's not even 3 anymore. It's actually 2.5 now.
I know, but it's bouncing between 2.5.
It's bouncing between.
That's a great teaser leg for me.
This game is tough. I'm gonna tell you guys. I'm gonna give you guys another one. This is one I am gonna lay 3. And JJ's gonna love this. Jacksonville Jaguars -3 against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I do.
You look at the
another
Panthers,
one I like.
They just lost their left tackle. He's not gonna be playing for the opening night, and then they lost one of their best receivers, in Jalen Coker. So I think you're coming into opening day and you're already behind the 8 ball. And this Jacksonville Jaguars team is a team where a lot of people want to buy on with Liam Cohen. And you look at what Bryce Young did. I know a lot of people are going to say he took a step up towards the end of last year, but a lot of times,
a lot of garbage stats, a lot of meaningless
those
games
don't necessarily translate to the start of next season. So I think this is a good buy low spot on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I like the Jags. Listen, that's music to my ears. There's somebody to bet them to go and win the division. Well, boys, the season is now officially underway. I hope you all enjoy the game on Thursday. You guys are going to be back during the week. DeBundo, when's your next show?
I'm on with Sal and House on Wednesday.
There you go. So I don't even have to plug for your house. It will be the 3 of you guys Wednesday, Raheem and I. Raheem, I will see you in the desert, amigo. I will see you at dinner on Wednesday night.
You know what's
then
so crazy?
We
We didn't talk about Miami or any college football, because it was a crazy weekend of college football.
It was. Thank God I had the Hurricanes. I actually wanted to black out any of the football I watched on Saturday because I lost a whole lot of bets, so I didn't even want to bring it up into the air. Clemson, bunch of losers. Arch Manning could not have played any worse. I don't want to hear the excuses that nobody was open. He was embarrassing in that game. And then our alma mater, Syracuse, DeBundo, defense
Came within
optional
5
against the
yards
Vols.
of the
That was
cover,
a homer
man.
pick. I didn't love it, but I felt obligated to bet it,
They were inside the 5 for the cover, JJ.
I'm well aware. There's
Sure,
going to be a lot
sure
more college.
Sal and Tate will have,
That's right. They got you covered. They're going to be doing a lot of college on their Tuesday show. AD, rock and roll. I look forward to medium rare. Peter Luger's, hopefully on your dime, not mine. It's going to be a great steak either way. For DeBundo, House, Raheem, JJ signing off. Thanks to the whole crew. Cerruti, Jack, Stefan here with me in the beautiful New York studios. Ringer Gambling, 12 Eastern, every day. Check out the YouTube stream. Download all the pods. Boys are out. Be good, everybody.